Good morning, good morning, good morning. We still have a few folks entering from the waiting room, and then we will get started. While we are waiting for folks to enter, if you would go ahead and rename yourself by district, role, name, and how many people are in the room with you. Okay, somebody doesn't have access to a mic and a camera. That should not be an issue. You're fine. As long as you can hear us, you'll be fine. So we're going to do a quick roll call. We want to know who's in the room. So we'll be asking you to first rename yourself by district, role, name, and how many people are in the room with you. And then when we launch the poll, we'll be asking where are you joining from and what best describes your role. So for example, gotcha, Leah Clark from Washington County, Amy from the Georgia Department of Education, Karen Golub, welcome from DeKalb, Karen. We're making some connections there. They're rolling in fast. Aviva from, it went away, Lumpkin County School District here. Hey, Jennifer.
Great to see all these folks here this morning.
Yes. Social Circle, hey. Yes, I see you, Dr. Walliver. Kara Collins, Gainesville City, instructional coach. We've got a good mixture of folks in terms of roles and districts. Awesome. Hey, Sally. Yes, they're rolling in. Bartow County. I haven't heard of seen Bartow before. Welcome, welcome. Eccles County School, Mr. Bobby Staten. Carrollton County, Pike County. You all are going to encourage me to do some more exploring around the state of Georgia. Gainesville. All right, for those of you who are coming in, we're asking you to rename yourself using your district, your role, your name, and how many people are in the room with you. Pam from Bacon County. Great to see you as well, Candace. Here they come. All right. Thank you, Christine. She's in the room alone. Well, you won't be alone for long. We'll put you in breakout rooms with some new friends. Okay. I think we might give it another minute, Sam, and then perhaps launch the poll. Christy McCormick from Bartow County. I've seen several Bartows in the house. Good to see you. Awesome.
emergency condition has been cleared. You may return to your normal activity. The building emergency condition has been cleared. You may return to your normal activity.
Okay, I think we want to go ahead and launch the poll. Okay, gotcha. All right. We pretty much have already determined where you're joining from and what role best describes you by you renaming yourself. Thank you so much for that. All right, I think we're ready for the next slide. If this is your first knowledge building for leaders session, please know that for these sessions, pre-work is required. To fully participate and benefit from this session, you'll need to have completed the oral language is the foundation for literacy course. If you've not completed that course, consider joining our Cox Campus or coxcampus.org. There is the address right there on the screen. It takes about 1 minute and it is free for everyone. We have lots of great resources for families, educators, and even healthcare professionals. So thank you for taking time out to do that if you've not done that thus far. So we'd like to ground this conversation based in our Cox Campus core values. Our core values are rewarding as a result of experience on Cox Campus. I am becoming my best self, working towards the greater good for generations to come. That is what we hope you feel as a result of this. We want Cox Campus to be empowering for you to walk away with knowledge that enables you to show up with a clear sense of how to secure a better future for those in your context. Connecting. This is a great opportunity to join with others who are committed to changing children's future. It's taking advantage of that collective efficacy. And then safe. This is a place where you are welcome and accepted, and you are a part of a community that is invested in what we do each day. We crowdsource problems. We crowdsource solutions to problems of practice that you may be facing. And then last but not least, essential. It's rooted in solid research. Cox Campus delivers what you need to change practices and make the difference in the lives of children. And we present it in a way so that the science is clear and actionable. So thank you for that. And now we have our facilitators, Ms. Amy Denton, Director of Literacy with the Georgia Department of Education. I am Ramona Brown, the Field Implementation Coordinator here at the Rollins Center. And then we have Miss Sally Edwards, who is one of our content developers. You may have seen her face on a course or two. And then we have Dr. Jacinta McCants, who will be the main point of contact for this cohort. So we are your facilitators for today. All right, next slide. And we also have with us other members of the Godot team. We have Miss Andina Oglesby. She's an ELA program specialist. And then we have Dr. Charity Roberts also, who is an instructional specialist. All right. So to break the ice, we want you to reflect on why did you choose to join this session? And please share it in the chat. And if you feel so inclined, you will also be welcome to come off mute and share your thoughts with us. We'll give you about 3 to 5 minutes to respond in the chat. Thank you. New elementary AP here, expanding my knowledge of K literate. Now they're rolling in. I'm gonna need some help. I want to learn strategies and information, seek additional information, and grow my professional knowledge as a means to support teachers. Beautifully put. Thank you, Karen. All right, to learn alongside my team. Yes, that is a great reason to be here. It's definitely a collaborative effort. My staff is joining because it's important. They're going to come too fast for me to read. You all are testing my fluency. To learn more about structured literacy, I'll start a new position in 2 weeks for early childhood. Congratulations. Wow. Support is a recurring theme here, going through a journey of literacy transformation. Well, you are at the right place for that. All right, learn and grow. Yes, another person that wants to grow so that they can support literacy in our school, grow knowledge. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing your why. We know it's important to be grounded in our why as we're going through the implementation of dynamic processes. Knowing our why is always a way to anchor us and ground us. So thank you all for sharing. All right, and I believe I'm going to hand it over to Amy. You all feel free to continue to share in the chat.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to see so many Georgia leaders on this opportunity for learning and collaborating together today. Of course, we're going to be focused on the module Oral Language is the Foundation for Literacy. And we're going to use this time to learn together and to engage as a network, and also to really prepare for change. And so it's no secret to any of you that this past spring, House Bill 538, the Georgia Literacy Act, and Senate Bill 211, the bill that established the Georgia Council of Literacy, were both passed. And so these are bills that are guiding our work now in the state and that really are complementing our work. We've not just started literacy work in the state of Georgia. We now have these 2 legislative pieces that keep us on track and that also give us an opportunity to pull many, many other stakeholders in as we accomplish this work together. It truly is going to take everybody. In the first Georgia Council on Literacy, Chairman Scott Johnson said that illiteracy is Georgia's most solvable problem. But it's only a solvable problem because of folks like you who are coming to the table and willing to learn together and also collaborate together. And so I'm thankful that you're here, and I'm looking forward to doing these 3 things with you all: learning together, engaging together, and preparing for change. So our session objectives for today are to reflect on what you learned in this month's course, Oral Language is the Foundation for Literacy. And Ramona talked about this a few minutes ago. So the goal is that you will engage in the modules asynchronously before you engage with us at the end of each month. If you didn't get that and that didn't happen this month, that's okay. We'll just sort of flip it, and you'll still get something out of today, but you'll get the most out of each of these sessions if you do the module before we meet at the end of the month. And so today we're going to be reflecting on the course Oral Language is the Foundation for Literacy. We're also going to lean into what this looks like when it's implemented in a school. And so we can learn about those things, but if we don't build that bridge to transfer it to what's actually happening within the walls of our schools, then we will have come up short. And so hopefully we're going to lean in today. You're going to be able to hear from colleagues about what it looks like in their school, what it looks like in your school. things that you might need to change up a little bit, things you might need to stop doing, things you might need to start doing, and things that you're already doing in your school that complement this work. We're going to link what we learned in the modules to real life scenarios and have some discussions about how to handle those real life scenarios. And also, this prepares you to lead the work in your school and district by collecting baseline data. And so, towards the end of our time together, we're going to share a tool with you that will allow you to collect some baseline data in your school around oral language as the foundation for literacy. And hopefully that data will then help to guide your next steps in your work. So hopefully we will accomplish all 4 of these things today.
Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Jacinta McCants with the Rollins Center, and it's time for you to get engaged and start the work in the breakout room. So this is a reflection of what you will see in your breakout room. And really what we want you to do is to have conversations and talk about the course and reflect on what you learned in the course. So in the top box where it says the triangle 3 takeaways, we would like you on the Jamboard in your breakout room to have a discussion and then come up with 3 takeaways that your group in the breakout room pulled from the course. And then in the square box, we would like you to think about ideas or things that really square with your thinking or resonate in your heart when it comes to the coursework. So what really touched your heart and really squares with your thinking and the direction that you want to go. And then the circle, 1 or 2 questions that you may still have after taking the course, like maybe what it looks like or how you can support this. So we would like you to write those in those boxes. So again, you will have about 10 minutes to discuss this in the breakout room, and then about 2 minutes to reflect, and then we'll come back as a whole group and share. So any questions before we send you to the breakout room with this Jamboard?
Just one note, Jacinta, the Jamboard is linked in the chat now, so everybody can go ahead and open that up. And then whatever number breakout room you are assigned to, please go to that slide on the Jamboard so that we can keep things organized.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sally. Appreciate that.
Is there anyone in here from room 1 that would like to share either 3 takeaways, ideas that squared your thinking, or questions that are still circling? It could be your thoughts or some that you captured in the breakout room.
I can talk. We were discussing the importance of the social communication, like students need to talk more. And it's kind of, with all the technology that we have, it was just, we've gotten away from that, especially in the upper grades. So just bringing that back and how important it is for them to talk through things and to do the productive struggle and have that communication piece.
Excellent. A great way to facilitate that is the accountable talk stems that are mentioned. A conversation I had last week in a training was that those sort of social cues and norms are lost because of technology. And so the classroom is a great way to facilitate that and sort of bring it back because we need it. Thank you for sharing. How about room number 4? Is there anyone in room number 4 or any other room that would like to share your discussions in your breakout room?
I'm from room number 4. We were just discussing the questions that we still had, just the instructional framework, exactly how long do you devote the reading block to building language, phonemic awareness. Most programs we all agreed have about 10 minutes of the phonemic awareness part, but how long does research say to spend on it?
So there's not a prescriptive amount of minutes, and Sally, feel free to jump in, chime in on this. In terms of oral language, what we like to promote is a way to thread it throughout in everything that that we do. The talk strategy gives us a framework of how to build that in, not just in ELA, but across the curriculum. So using that, referring to that is a great way to start to sort of build that oral language in into your routine. We should be talking during transitions, during lessons by posing questions and eliciting responses. So yep, McKinney says throughout the day, throughout the entire day. And so the role is, or the goal should be, to look for those times when you can have those incidental interactions with children to lift the language.
And I'll just add on to what Ramona said, everything exactly right. McKinney in the chat, absolutely all day long. And when we think about those incidental opportunities to grow language, we can still be intentional about those. We can look ahead to whatever lesson we're going to teach in science and social studies and pull a few tier 2 words to go along with that. Or if we're looking at, a math conversation and we're doing number talks, we can build in accountable talk stems to sort of help facilitate that conversation as well.
Yeah, I was gonna add,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just going to add that I think of this as almost a bigger umbrella of what a classroom looks like all day long. Like that we're being very intentional about ensuring that students have opportunity for voice throughout the day, building that vocabulary, providing those scaffolds for students throughout the day. And then I think that in our next module, we'll start narrowing down a little bit more to those things like phonemic awareness and phonics instruction, where we probably will have some recommended time frames for an instructional framework. But to me, this building oral language is more of a how the classroom looks all day long.
You just answered my question.
Oh, well, good, Candace. I'm glad we were on the same page there.
You just answered my question. I was thinking this. What I was thinking was, I think me too. I was like a couple steps ahead of you on what you just said. So
Awesome.
Yeah, and I cannot remember who asked the first question, but our next session will be around early literacy, which we'll talk all about phonemic awareness and in more detail. So Amy, that's exactly right. All right. Does anybody have any more burning thoughts or questions or things that need to be shared for this one? Are we ready to move on to our walkthrough tool? All right, Sam, I think we must be ready to move. Okay, so I'm going to drop in the chat, and this should be the correct link, so I apologize for giving y'all the wrong links earlier. Again, like Amy said, it's the first time, so y'all just bear with us. Okay, so the link that I just dropped in the chat is to a what we call a coaching tool, but you can use it as a walkthrough tool. And this is a document that allows you to take stock of where you are as a school in terms of oral language development. So you'll notice when you look at it that it is organized around some of the key themes of the course. Equity of voice is one of them, what we were just talking about, making sure children have an opportunity to talk throughout the day. Another big bucket item is culturally and linguistically preserving environment, which my breakout room had a lot of things to say about that. We can talk about student-focused discussions, that talk strategy and the talk ladder that Ramona mentioned earlier, language scaffolds, and then evidence of planning. Those are the main topics that are included in this walkthrough form. And what we'd like for you to do is take a few minutes. I think we're going to set a timer for about 8 minutes for everybody to just quietly reflect, look at this tool, and kind of think through, where are my teachers? Where are my kids? Where is our school when it comes to looking at these indicators? And we try to be very specific in our work with teachers and coaches. We use this tool as for them to observe the coach and for then the coach to turn around and observe them. But this is for you, for the purpose of this work, is to really just kind of have an idea of where you are, and then after we have time to look at every indicator, we're going to get back into breakout rooms and do another Jamboard, and I'll promise I'll share the right links this time, and think about what you need to start doing, what you need to stop doing, what you can continue, and what you can change. So as you go through the walkthrough form for 8 minutes, we're going to work quietly, individually. Think through those 4 big ideas, and what do we need to do? Which of these are we doing well? What could we start tomorrow that would be pretty easy? What do we need to stop? And then maybe what do we need to tweak a little bit or change? So everybody has the link to the walkthrough through form, and then in 8 minutes, we'll be put automatically into breakout rooms.
While everyone is returning, I'll just share a couple of high points of the conversation in room number 7. And I welcome anyone else who would like to share to come off mute. So one thing that I picked up was one of the participants said that they wanted to shine a spotlight on oral language, how sometimes it can kind of get be sort of like behind the scenes, but to intentionally lift that by using those indicators to increase, improve, spotlight what is already happening in some cases. And another thought that was shared was it's important to explain the why behind the practice. Like I mentioned earlier when we were sharing our why for being in this session, our why, it can be an anchor for us. So it's important to lift that discussion periodically. And then it was also shared that many of the strategies and practice align with WIDA, and that revisiting this is another opportunity to deepen knowledge, refresh knowledge around that. So really good sharing of information. Anyone else like to share while we have this moment about creating intentional opportunities for students to talk? Yes, intentional is the word of the day. Love it.
So Ramona, I'm just looking through the 1 through 5 Jamboards, and there's some great conversation that happened on the Jamboards. I've seen a couple of times that intentional planning for phonological awareness, morphology, syntactic awareness, semantic awareness, all of those different layers. And I think that that's a great aha and things to start. Probably if we all looked at our own practice, we would see that we were stronger in maybe 1 or 2 of those areas than others. And so, of course, continue that, but start those other places.
I'm glad you lifted that because it's not a one and done. This is a continuous improvement process. And so going back to those layers of language and doing some reflection about ways that you can lift those different areas is a great way to continue to refresh and level up in your practices.
I'd love to just piggyback off that. In a couple of the breakout rooms that I was in, it was with that conversation beyond the classroom. How can we culture that beyond the ELA block, beyond just our classroom? How can we get that across the school? How can we involve everyone that's coming in contact with students? And we talked about going back to that intentionality, but being on the same page. And, that may call for some professional learning with folks beyond just teachers to sort of get everyone on the same page with cultivating that type of school and classroom that we want to see building students' oral language.
Awesome. And Dina, it should be a part of the culture, right? Not just of the classroom, but also of the school. Last thing, and then we'll move to our next slide. And even in a training that I did last week, they were talking about how to bring the talk strategy into professional learning. And I was like, yes, absolutely. What a great way to transfer it in and make it a part of the culture. And so we say the entire day, but making it sort of the fabric of the culture is the highest goal there. All right, we've got a raised hand. Go ahead, Aviva from Bryan County. Forgive me if I mispronounce your name.
Oh, no, you're fine. Yeah, it's Aviva. I had said this in the chat room, but I do think it's really, really important is we have for years had speaking and listening standards and ignored them because we didn't have intentional strategies that we could provide to teachers in PL. It was just assumed that everybody knew how to incorporate that into their teaching. And the talk ladder, I think, is an amazing tool. And again, I don't think it's just K3. I typically work often with the upper L, but of course it's essential for K3, but I honestly think it's essential for everybody to understand that the way you respond to students really matters because it is constantly building their ability to articulate themselves. So I think that's one of the most powerful things I've gotten out of the first module.
Thank you so much for lifting that. It is essential. In one of my breakout rooms, we talked about how the art of conversation is sort of lost, right? Those social skills and norms are becoming a lost art form, and this is a great opportunity to revive that and to teach that. All right, I'm ready for the next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to modify our time somewhat, but this last piece is that practical application piece. We'd like for you to link your learning to real life scenarios. So thinking about this prompt here, you're working with a teacher, a coach, a principal, or a superintendent who insists on quiet classrooms where adults do most of the talking. How do you support your colleagues to make the transition to a language-centered classroom environment? And I want to invite you to look back at the tool, at the indicators, to think of some things that you can lift that would be practical ways to facilitate that transition. We will go back to our breakout room for another 6 minutes. Maybe 5, so that we have time for the wrap up. I'm looking at the time, it's about 11:22. So if you would send us to breakout rooms for 5 minutes to consider this real life application.
While we're waiting for everybody to come back in, I'll share sort of a theme from what I heard in my breakout room, which was to start small. Don't try to tackle it all at once. You can start with one strategy, one rung on the talk ladder, one resource that you want your teachers to implement, but to really try to focus on that one thing in order to change the environment was a big theme that we had.
Us too, Sally.
Really good. Yeah. Yep, that talk ladder especially it's hard, but it's a high leverage strategy, and I recommend printing it and putting it on your wall so that you can refer to it in the moment, because otherwise I have a hard time remembering it. Another thing that we shared in there, and I would love for anybody else to come off mute, but another thing that we shared in there was don't forget, at the bottom of that Talk Ladder resource, there are scenarios that can be used with teachers in professional development as well. Anybody else have any great ideas in their breakout rooms?
We just wanted to remind everybody that, you know, these are in our Georgia Standards of Excellence. So if we did experience any resistance, that's definitely a grounding document to use as our justification.
Absolutely. We can pull them out from the back of the plan book and put them front and center, right?
That's right.
And someone earlier named, like, we've always had listening and speaking standards, but they've been, you know, grossly ignored. And we have statewide data showing that that didn't serve us well. And so when like this scenario has superintendent, and I just think what gets a lot of superintendent's attention is like, let's do some root cause analysis of why are we here? And, you know, coupled with the course, you know, resources from the course in the videos could help reshape, because a lot of this is deeply held beliefs, you know, that we're having to undo and retrain. And everyone's suggestions for starting slow is really wise.
And we talked about actually having teachers see what it looks like, see how good conversations or accountable talk is happening in the classrooms, where they can just kind of wrap their head around it.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. We have we recommend when you use that observation tool that the teachers use it as an observer first, so that they can see it in action. They can have that tool and focus their observation to see what is happening in there.
To piggyback off that, just real quick, sorry. In our breakout, they was also discussed sort of practice what you teach, in that modeling for teachers in professional learning some of the strategies as well, and then honoring them when they do step outside their comfort zone to try to help build their confidence, and starting small and then working their way up to try new things. That
is awesome. All right. Well, I think with that and looking at our time, we need to move to our next slide.
So sorry, Sally.
You go.
I'm going to talk quickly because my computer time says 11:31. And so this is your call to action for next steps. And so I believe Sally has just is going to drop the link to the walkthrough form or the coaching tool into the chat box. And what we encourage you to do is to conduct a walkthrough at your school using this, and to see where you are at your school with the oral language and all of these practices. This is a baseline. It's not a gotcha, but this is a tool that can give you some ideas of where you might need to go next with professional learning with your teachers. What are some things that you need to at your school? Start, stop, continue, and those types of things. But if you don't gather the data first, you won't have a picture of where you really are. So we would encourage you to soon, like in the next few days, to go ahead and conduct that walkthrough and get that baseline data so that you'll be able to determine your next steps. Okay, right. I think it's posted now.
It is, and I think Charity maybe posted the Talk Ladder teaching guide, which was great too. Thank y'all. And I think in the interest of time, let's do our poll, and then we can I can stick around for question and answers if anybody has time for that. So Sam, let's skip to the next slide. There we go. All right, so if y'all would complete the exit poll for us. We always want to know your feedback.
Yes, and it's about 4 questions. So if you can just take a few seconds to do that, that would be great. And then we'll jump to our ending. Okay, and then we can jump to the next slide. So again, we want to thank you for this time. We appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you in the next session. We will cover early literacy. So we'll jump into printer awareness, phonological awareness, and alphabet knowledge. And that session will be at the same time, 10 to 11:30 on October 30th. So we would like you to go to Cox Campus and go through that coursework prior to October 30th so that we can have those deep conversations in our next session. Thanks again for your time. We truly appreciate it. And if you have any questions, please stay on and we can answer your questions. But otherwise, go and do well. Thank you.